An immediate ceasefire in Ukraine remains elusive. Russian President Putin agreed to halt attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure for 30 days after a 2-hour marathon call with Trump, but it fell short of a truce. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Russia will hold talks with US officials in Saudi Arabia next week to discuss a partial ceasefire. Fresh unease over individuals who are legally in the US being deported. The latest target, an Indian national on a student visa who's a researcher at Georgetown University. A federal judge has blocked his deportation. The Trump administration accuses Badr Khan Suri of spreading Hamas propaganda. Suri is married to a Palestinian American whose father was an advisor to assassinated Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Trump delivering yet another campaign pledge dismantling the Department of Education, fulfilling a long-cherished goal of the conservatives. The US president vowed to return the money the department controls to individual states. The move is already facing legal challenges since the department cannot be closed without the approval of Congress. And the White House says the Statue of Liberty is going nowhere. A French politician demanded Washington return the iconic statue, saying the U.S. does not deserve it. The Trump administration's rebuke grabbed global headlines after it said France would be speaking German without U.S. support in World War II. An increasingly tense situation between the Trump administration and a federal judge shows no signs of easing. Judge James Boasberg on Thursday appeared to move closer to holding officials in contempt. A showdown between the judiciary and a defiant Trump threatens the world's most powerful democracy, Disha Bakshi explains.
Could the US be on the brink of a constitutional crisis? Early signs indicate a showdown is underway between the executive and the judiciary after US President Donald Trump clashed with Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts over the president's call to impeach a judge who ruled against his administration over deportations. After Trump threatened to impeach District Judge James Boasberg over his order to halt deportations of gang members to El Salvador, the top Supreme Court justice rebuked Trump's calls, issuing a rare statement, saying impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision.
In an extraordinary situation in Washington, the President of the United States and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court appear to be in open conflict right now. This is an extremely rare situation. Almost never does a Chief Justice issue a statement like this, let alone after or in response to a statement from the President himself. So what you're seeing here is inching closer to open conflict between the executive branch and the judicial branch, and laying the groundwork for the possibility of a constitutional crisis.
Trump's clash with Boasberg first began after the Trump administration allegedly ignored his Saturday court order to turn around 2 planes carrying Venezuelan gang members because the flights were over international waters and therefore the ruling didn't apply. A rare and controversial move that has landed the administration in trouble. Over the past week, Boasberg has remained undeterred in demanding answers, giving the government till next week to respond. However, the Justice Department has been resisting his questions, saying the court should drop its grave encroachments into the authority of the executive branch. The White House too accused Boasberg of trying to usurp powers of the presidency.
It's essential the Supreme Court crack down and stop this assault on our democracy from these radical, rogue judges that are usurping the powers of the presidency and laying waste to our entire constitutional system.
Apart from Trump, many House Republicans too are targeting federal judges with impeachment for resisting Trump's orders. House Republicans have threatened to impeach almost a dozen federal judges who have ruled against Trump, a stark break from convention, where judges have so far only been impeached for personal misconduct, graft, or serious criminal offenses. The big question that now remains, how far is Trump willing to go to execute his agenda? And will the American democracy survive this? Disha Bakshi for NDTV World.
On the campaign trail, Donald Trump promised the largest mass deportation of illegal immigrants to the U.S. that it's ever seen. What many didn't expect is the administration challenging legal immigration. This week, we saw officials try and deport Indian national Badr Khan Suri on a student visa. Suri is a researcher at the prestigious Georgetown University in D.C. A federal judge has blocked Suri's removal. The Trump administration says Suri is spreading Hamas propaganda. Also, Indian PhD student at Columbia University, Ranjani Srinivasan, chose to self-deport after her visa was revoked on March 5th. Srinivasan is accused of being a terrorist sympathizer, but she denies taking part in any protest on the Gaza war. Now, earlier in the month, kidney transplant specialist Dr. Rasha Alwahi, a Lebanese citizen and H-1B visa holder, was deported when she arrived at Boston Airport. She was attending the funeral of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut. Meanwhile, Mohammad Khalil, a green card holder, remains detained. The Columbia University graduate faces deportation for his role in last year's campus protests against the war in Gaza. And German national Fabian Schmidt, also a green card holder, claims he was violently interrogated after a trip from Europe. He had a misdemeanor marijuana charge, which his mother says was dismissed. We're now joined by immigration attorney Alison Kranz to delve deeper into these worrying instances that have been cropping up here in the US. Alison, you've been practicing immigration law for several years. How much has immigration enforcement on, say, H-1Bs, student visas, and green card holders really changed, would you say, in recent weeks?
The immigration changes that we're seeing in these particular cases that you mentioned aren't actually impacting the majority of travelers. What we're seeing here is an attempt to intimidate, to create fear, and to encourage those people that have inadmissibility factors in their background to self-deport or not come to the United States in the first place.
All right, if an H-1B holder or a student from India or a green card holder returns to the US and are held by immigration officials, can their status be revoked there and there at the airport? What legal recourse would they have at that point in time?
Yes, it can. So when someone's going through the border, entering the United States, the officers have a lot of discretion. They have a discretion to question. They can put people into secondary inspection, which is a temporary detainment, or they can choose to detain someone for a longer period of time if necessary for their investigation or because they put that person into deportation proceedings. Now, an individual at the border doesn't have a right to attorney, but as soon as they are formally detained and moved into the detention facility, they do have a right to an immigration attorney. Keep in mind, the people who are experiencing long-term detainment do have factors in their past that the immigration law for long periods of time have always said that these are problematic issues. Now, I think that there's an argument to be made that the Trump administration is trying to hinder free speech and some of these political arguments that are being made. But, you know, people who have histories such as past criminal charges or convictions, if they've overstayed their visa to the United States or other countries in the past, if they engage in certain type of political activities that involve organizations that the U.S. have considered terrorist organizations, they should probably speak to an immigration attorney before entering the United States.
But that's the thing, really, isn't it, Alison? Today it's about Gaza speaking out against the war. Those are the kind of people that we're seeing being affected by this clampdown. Tomorrow it could be someone talking about transgender rights. So how does one really know when they're potentially at risk when they arrive in the US or even if they're here at this point in time, right?
Absolutely. I think the Trump administration has chosen chaos and cruelty over security, unfortunately. And the factors that the U.S. has relied on as these discretionary factors that would be problematic in some cases are being looked at and scrutinized at a higher rate than before.
All right. What are you advising people you have to go about life. People will say things. What are you saying to your clients at this point in time? People here on H-1B visas, we hear people also on green cards for that matter.
For people who are already in the United States, we're asking our clients if they've had a change in their work situation since they last received an approval, if they have a green card, if they have any criminal charges or convictions, if they are engaging in political protests in regards to Palestine and Israel, to come and talk to us first before they travel internationally. For those people who have some of those risk factors, we're really saying that you're traveling at your own risk. There are reasons to believe that you could be stopped, you could be questioned, and people have to make individual choices based on their own personal risk factors.
Amongst all the cases that we just listed before we came to you, any one of those that really troubles you greatly?
I think all of the cases that involve people who are allegedly supporters of Hezbollah and Hamas, that's very concerning because what certain outlets of the media are reporting is that support of Palestine has been translated to support of a terrorist organization, which is very unfair and not the same thing, and would be really an abuse of, I think, executive powers to go and push someone to that limit to say that they're supporting terrorist organizations. That's clearly an attempt to hinder free speech, to create fear, to intimidate, and to cause problems for immigrants in the country. And unfortunately, it seems like it's working.
All right, Alison, like we said, you've been doing this for several years now. How alarmed are you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most alarmed?
Yes, I've been practicing immigration law for 17 years, and we've never seen anything like this. This is a very unique situation. It's very unusual, and hopefully the courts will intervene and the court's decisions will be respected, protecting the rights of immigrants.
Alison Crowns joining us from Boston. Thank you very much indeed for your time here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
In other news now, U.S. Border Control have been seizing some unusual contraband lately. Eggs. Authorities along the Mexico border, for instance, have been busting more people smuggling eggs into the U.S. than drugs like fentanyl. Now, egg prices in the U.S. have been sky high. There could be some respite at the end of the month as wholesale prices begin to fall. But here's more on how omelets and egg burji are burning a hole in people's wallets.
It's expensive, and when all you really sell are eggs like this Indian street food chain, Eggholic, it can turn into a bit of a scramble.
Approval behind me, it says have an excellent day, but it really hasn't been excellent days, has it, with those high egg prices?
That's true. It hasn't been excellent day for the businesses. I mean, from last 2 to 3 months that we've been facing the highly significantly amount of the increasing of the egg prices. The main reason of the rising the price of the eggs is that there is some sort of flu going on.
Avian flu.
Yes, and that was the reason that price went significantly high.
Millions of chickens had to be killed, had to be culled, and therefore the prices went high.
That's true, and they have to make tough decisions like increasing the price in the menu, putting some surcharges in the menu.
So you talked about a surcharge. Is that because you were running into a loss
We were barely breaking it even, and our all the recipes is based on egg dishes. So eggs. So that's why it's really important for us to make a tough decision and adding the surcharge. For now, we have to put $1 surcharge on each dishes, each egg dishes particularly.
So, how many eggs would you need typically during the week?
So nearly we are using around 1,000 to 1,500 eggs a week.
About a year ago, a dozen eggs would cost you about $3 or 250 rupees, but in recent months, depending on where you live, that could have cost you at least 500 rupees or upwards of 1,000 rupees as well.
Yeah, I'm feeling the pinch. I'm a student here, and it's definitely had an impact on my budget.
It does affect anything, like from baked cookies, pre-made cookies, or you go out, go to Chick-fil-A, get a burrito or something. The price just went up for anything involving eggs.
Since we don't have a lot of alternate protein sources, it's
Because you're vegetarian.
yes, and I only eat eggs. So it's been particularly taxing.
I'm still eating eggs because I'm also vegetarian and it's a protein source. So, I can't not eat them. But obviously, you're budgeting for it.
So we will buy more meat and eggs because the eggs are more expensive than the meat.
Do the kids here miss having eggs at home?
Yes.
What do you miss most about not having eggs?
Like eggs and bacon, maybe.
You miss not having bacon with eggs. Okay. Wholesale prices of eggs are beginning to drop thanks to weaker consumer demand and avian flu in the US coming under control. But consumers are feeling no reprieve yet because eggs typically have a 4-week shelf life and retailers are still trying to get rid of all that expensive inventory when they bought those eggs at record prices. In Washington, D.C., Allister D'Souza, NDTV.
Time now for Diaspora Connect. For the first time in 50 years, the U.S. Northwest will have its very own U.S. Chamber of Commerce. It will serve as a pipeline for businesses in states like Washington, Oregon, and Alaska too. I'm joined by Purnima Voria. She is founder and CEO of the National U.S. India Chamber of Commerce. Purnima, thanks for joining us here on Washington Watch. Purnima, the launch of the chamber comes at a critical time. Difficult times for you as well. There is uncertainty with President Trump's threat of those reciprocal tariffs on India. What's the mood right now, would you say, for companies hoping to do business in India?
I think the mood is a little bit in between, I would say. Enthusiastic,
Okay.
but holding back a little bit because these tariff potential trade conflicts need to be resolved. And I think they will be on April 2nd. There are some decisions being made with India. And India is also very reciprocal right now, knowing fully well that they benefited from the not having the US tariffs for so long that it's time to pay. But at the same time, I would say that businesses are very focused on India, very much wanting to engage with India, and very optimistic about India. The tariffs is something the governments will have to take over. And I know that there is Harley Davidson that has about 30 to 50% tariffs even right now. And there are also some of the other industries that are also affected, for example, whiskey and bourbon and things like that. So US is wanting to do that India looks into these and it's a fair play for both the nations. And I think Prime Minister Modi is also very much aware of this and is doing everything he can to harmonize this tariff conflict
Right.
for the best of the country.
You've clearly got your task cut out for you, Purnima, in the next couple of months or several months down the line here. Now, Purnima, the Northwest has sectors like aerospace, IT, forestry. What kind of sectors will the new chamber be focusing on?
There are 9 states in the Northwest region, whether it's North Dakota, South Dakota, Oregon, Wyoming, Washington, Alaska, and so forth, have tremendous tremendous opportunities. Washington, for example, has defense and aerospace, satellite companies. We have Starbucks here, which is opening 1,000 stores in India coming up. We also have Amazon of the world here. So there is in Washington, these are the opportunities. But at the same time, all these other states have agri-tech. They have critical minerals, coal, but like
Yes.
Wyoming, other opportunities that we are going to be promoting with India. And India is a $200 billion
Indeed.
business is happening between US and India. So I think technology, energy, strong people-to-people ties are going to help with this transition. But at
Yeah.
the same time, the sectors are mostly in technology, agriculture, energy, manufacturing, all of which are areas of
Indeed.
opportunity with India. And Indian businesses also have the same opportunities with the United States.
Right. So, Purnima, we're going to have to leave it there,
For
running out of
joint
time.
venture
Wish you
partnership
luck
for
with the new
manufacturing and so
chamber.
forth.
Thank you for your time again here, right here on Washington Watch. Now, in more Diaspora Connect, this year's prestigious Juno Award nominees includes a young woman from Mumbai. The Junos are often referred to as Canada's Grammys. Juno Award winners like Canadian legends Celine Dion and Bryan Adams went on to win a Grammy. Shruti Ramani joins us from Vancouver, Canada. Shruti is the lead vocalist for Raghavas, which has been nominated for Best Jazz Album of the Year for a band. Congratulations, Shruti. This is your first ever album and it could now potentially win a Juno. And I hear that the inspiration for this album comes from someone who perhaps is watching right now, sitting far away in Kandivali West in Mumbai.
Hi, Alistair. First of all, I want to say it's my absolute honor to be live with you on Washington Watch. I'm really grateful for this amazing opportunity I have as an immigrant in Canada. And yes, this is a tribute to my mom, who is endlessly, both my parents really, but especially my mom, who have endlessly sacrificed their resources and their time and their energy to kind of enable me to do this, this big feat. So I'm really grateful to have the best of the parents that I could have possibly had. Yeah, and I feel really privileged.
So Shruti, yes, this
as an Indian
album inspired by your mother, who's in Mumbai. The awards will be announced next weekend. How are you feeling? A bit jittery? What's the feeling like right now?
I think I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous. Of course, I would be very, very excited to win the award, but I think I've already won in a lot of ways by, you know, being nominated for an award that is of this stature to begin with. So for my mom and for my family, who we grew up middle class, for us, this is the victory, is just to be nominated and being recognized on this platform. And I'm grateful to, my
And
family
Shruti,
the
for
support.
someone like you who's come from Mumbai, went to Canada and Vancouver, decided that you'd study music, made this album, what advice would you have for young people with similar aspirations back home in India?
My advice would be, keep your curiosity alive. Always seek the sounds that, you're attracted to, that you want to study, and then give it your all. Do everything it takes, whether that be practicing your art, refining your art, asking mentors to play with you. I think that's one of the main things. If you're inspired by someone, don't be afraid to go ask them if they would give you a lesson or if they would play with you, because the worst that they can
Right.
say is no. Yeah. But the best is that
Shruti
they will
Ramani,
be
thank
like,
you very much
yes.
indeed. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, I was just like, the
All
best
right,
thing,
we'll
the
have to
best
leave it
outcome
there.
would be, yes. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'd love to have you on again. Good luck with that award. Shruti Ramani joining us there. And we're going to leave our viewers with a song from that album that's been nominated for a Juno in Canada. That's it from me here on Washington Watch.
Pani sa ga With retirement round the corner, I want to spend more time with my family and less time worrying about the numbers. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
And that money could help with funeral costs or even as a gift for the grandkids. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
You got them all right. That's amazing.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 977 5808 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Those weeks that he came in with the 3 weeks that I could be his little girl again, nothing I can do will repay Marie Curie for doing that for me. The amazing gift that they gave me was I was there at his last breath. He was there for my first. I will give everything back that I can to the hospice that gave me so much.
Give better end-of-life care to all. Get your free will guide today.
At Tesco Mobile, unlock even better phone deals with your Club Card. Get our 30 gig SIM for just £12.50 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £30. Better yet, your Club Card lets you unlock more than just great deals, like frozen prices and no EU roaming fees until the end of your contract. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Quidco gives you cashback every time you shop on over 5,000 brands. It always pays to Quidco. Sign up and start saving today. Visit quidco.com.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000. Get your conditional decision in minutes.
Will you tell me if I'm flying to Delhi to New York, can I take a stopover in Dubai to explore, or do you think it'll be too hectic?
Looking for holiday and flight recommendations in strange places? Don't. Just come to Brighton. Brighton Travel, making travel brighter.
I'll fix him, love. Poor pet. Just shows you never know what's going to happen. Which reminds me, I need to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm looking into Smart Family Life Insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK. You can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age. If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And it could help my husband with the mortgage.
Just like families, not all life insurance is the same. That's why we offer the Smart Family Guarantee.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cash back on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you'll also get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Make this Ramadan sweeter with Royal Sweets. Delight in authentic treats with your loved ones. Order now at royalsweets.co.uk.
Hello everyone, this is The Big Fight and I'm Maria Shakil. A judge is in the dock after a pile of unaccounted cash was found at his home. The controversy surrounding Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Verma broke during Holi last week when a blaze at his Delhi bungalow had to be put out by firefighters who then found the cash. Now the judge has been transferred, which the top court has clarified is not related to the probe that has been initiated in the cash incident. The issue has caused an uproar from the legal circles to the parliament. At least 55 MPs raised the issue with the Rajya Sabha chairman, who raised the concern that the issue did not come to the light immediately. He wondered what would have happened if it involved a politician or a common citizen and not a judge. Several legal eagles have raised serious concerns over the handling of this issue, with some like Harish Salve demanding that there should be a proper system to deal with the allegations on judges, as the opaque collegium system is no good enough. Does this case give the impression that the judges are above law? Is corruption in judiciary the elephant in the room which needs to be talked about now? Is it time to talk about the transparency and accountability of the judicial system? And has the judicial immunity gone too far? And the big question, who will judge the judges? Which body is competent to probe the judges? Is the collegium system under cloud? To talk about all these larger issues, we have a stellar panel of top legal eagles and legal minds of the country tonight. First up is former Solicitor General Harish Salve. We have a senior counsel, Harish Salve, joining us on NDTV. Mr. Salve, really appreciate your time. What does the recovery of the large sums of cash from a sitting Delhi High Court judge's residence really indicate about the state of judicial accountability in India?
I was proceeding on the assumption that there was a recovery. I believe the Delhi fire chief has now said that there was no recovery. And it's now rather a very odd situation in which, on the one hand, it says the Supreme Court has transferred him, the Supreme Court Collegium has issued transfer orders, the Supreme Court has ordered an in-house inquiry. On the other hand, they say there is no recovery. If there is no recovery, what's the inquiry about? I don't know what's going on, because if such a serious allegation is being falsely made, then it raises very serious questions. And if it has been, and if the allegation is true, then again it raises very serious questions.
And Mr. Salve, just minutes ago, there was a press note that was issued by the Supreme Court where they said that the transfer of this judge, Justice Verma, is not related to this incident, and that there is a lot of misinformation and rumors being spread about the case. The Supreme Court press note also says that the Delhi High Court Chief Justice will give a report today.
Well, if normally the transfers are with some reasons or some purposes, and it's, well, if the judges say it is not for this reason, or it is for some other reason, we wait and hear what they have to say. Because the whole thing has become very, very murky now. If there was indeed such a recovery, and we were all proceeding on the footing there was such a recovery because of what was suggested, i.e. that the Supreme Court has ordered a transfer and the Supreme Court is considering a probe, and I was of the view that if this is true, if the transfer is for this reason, then the transfer is not the right way out. And that was the whole debate. Now, if the Supreme Court says, no, his transfer was for some other reason, which now raises further questions, I think this situation is getting far more controversial and far more concerning than it was earlier. As it is, it was devastating, but now it's becoming worse.
Do you think there are several unanswered questions, and where do you think, Mr. Salve, the answers lie, in the sense that who really has the answer? Do you think it's the cops who were present before the fire men arrived on the scene of on the scene of this incident, or do you think that there is much more than what meets the eye now because of multiple versions coming out?
So what I feel, if the Delhi fire chief says he did not have any recovery, then I think the Supreme Court should have an inquiry immediately on whether there was indeed a recovery, in which case it raises one set of questions, including why has the fire chief said this. And if there was no recovery, then who are the people who have manufactured these allegations? And why have these allegations been made?
Absolutely.
And I think in my personal view, in either event, his transfer should now be put on hold. Because if he was being transferred, not because of this, but for other administrative reasons, and the way the two issues have got joined at the hip, if the allegations against him is false, it's very unfair to him to transfer him. And if the allegations are true, then it is too little to transfer him.
And Mr. Salve, because before the details emerged in the last 1 hour, many saw that simple transfer isn't really the right investigation, because had this been a case of a non-judge or an ordinary citizen, he wouldn't have really managed to investigate escape investigating agencies if cash of this nature was recovered from his home.
You're absolutely right. I said this on Republic TV in the afternoon. I said this on Times now before this contradiction had come. And I don't know, this news came in the morning in the newspaper. I wish that the chief, the fire chief, had issued the statement at 7 o'clock in the morning, not 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What has been going on all day is everybody is proceeding on the basis that the newspapers have it right. And there are some photographs which have been published. God knows if those photographs are AI generated. God knows if those photographs are actually of the event. So this has now become a far more serious matter, and my conviction now is reinforced that we need a system which can deal with these kind of allegations. The collegium in-house system is unequal to the task. Look at what has happened today. The collegium chose today to announce the judge's transfer on the same day on which you get a newspaper report saying that cash has been found at the judge's house. Now, if the newspapers had it today and there is some conversation of this kind, I find it hard to believe that the judges had not heard that such a thing is happening. But if they had, their first reaction in the morning should have been entirely different. So today, unfortunately, what has happened, and maybe it's possible that the collegium has transferred him for reasons completely unrelated. Look at the newspaper report. The newspaper says that some members of the collegium were not happy with the transfer and thought something more was required. This is the problem of having an in-house opaque system. The people of this country are extremely concerned over allegations that of a very respected, otherwise a very respected judge of the High Court, a very senior judge of the High Court, suddenly you wake up. I was shocked in the morning to read that the cash has been found at Justice Verma's house. I couldn't believe it. But then comes the news that he has been transferred. And then comes the newspaper report saying that some of the members of the collegium, etc., this is true. I would have hoped that at 9 o'clock, the Supreme Court registry could have said, this is a nonsense. The transfer has nothing to do with this. The next news which comes out is that the Supreme Court is ordering an inquiry. So that reinforces the point that there is some truth to these allegations.
And
then comes the DCP saying, no, but nothing was recovered. I think this was exactly my point. We need a proper investigation. And I'm not saying this needs to be investigated outside the control of the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court should seriously consider whether they should have a panel of a judge and maybe one or two eminent outsiders to conduct this inquiry. Because I do not want, if the police chief is right, if the fire chief is right, and these are false allegations, we don't want the people to feel that the judges have helped one of their own.
Yes.
There should be credibility to his exoneration.
What should the Supreme Court do at the moment? Because the clarification has come from two departments already, including the Supreme Court, which has said what I told you a few minutes back, Mr. Salve, steps that is needed to restore public trust and confidence in the Indian judiciary, the institution.
Well, fortunately, I'm not the Chief Justice, and at my age, I'm too old to be a judge. So I can say this. I would feel, considering all that has happened, his order of transfer should be put on abeyance, because whether we like it or not, because of the newspaper reports and the collocation of events, the allegations of cash recovery and the allegations of transfer have got joined at the hip. We need to put his transfer on abeyance, because if the allegations are false, different consequences follow. If the allegations are true, transfer is not an answer. I think the Supreme Court has constituted a committee. The Supreme Court has ordered an in-house inquiry. They should have a thorough inquiry done. I would personally feel the inquiry should be with judges and one or two eminent outsiders. And after the inquiry is done, if he is exonerated, then there has to be a full-scale investigation into who planted these allegations. And if he is not exonerated, the law must follow.
Mr. Salve, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts with NDTV. And joining me now is Mahesh Jethmalani, Senior Supreme Court Advocate. Mr. Jethmalani, of course, you know, this is a debate which began today. The entire incident of pile of unaccounted cash being recovered from the residence of Justice Verma has raised a lot of questions. But should stricter mechanisms be in place to investigate corruption within the judiciary? This has also reignited debates if sitting judges should be subjected to CBI or Lokpal investigations.
There's a misconception, right? In Veeraswamy's case, right, if a judge was, you know, found involved in a case of corruption or bribery, right, or disproportionate assets, right, the investigating agency, an FIR could be lodged, right? The investigating agency, as per Veeraswamy's judgment, would have to seek the sanction of the Chief Justice of India to whether, if it was a constitutional court judge, right, High Court or Supreme Court, to continue with the investigation and then file a charge sheet. So that's the law laid down, right? This in-house procedure, right, is something which happens in cases where it's reported to the CJI before it's got into the hands of the police. Right? But sometimes an FIR is filed with the police, and then if the police think it's not a frivolous case, then the Veeraswamy cause will be taken by the police. In this case, the situation is slightly different. It seems to have been reported to the Chief Justice of India, and then the collegium decided to do whatever they did. I don't know. Right now, there are so many corrigendums issued by the Supreme Court, right? Or at least one corrigendum I know of, thanks to you, right? Which suggests that, I don't even know, was money in fact seized? Because what we were told initially was that the transfer was because of that in fact we were told there was a division in the paper report suggested that there was a division in the collegium. A transfer was ordered, right? But there were some members, or at least more than one member, or maybe just one member, who as per the news report said that stricter action should be taken than just a mere transfer. And about this fire officer thing, I would, the Supreme Court has taken some action, right? Now, we should await the final report, since there seems to be some clarification issued by the Supreme Court. But I would not take the statement of a fire officer, right? Because in the first place, we don't know how the seizure of this money came to the Supreme Court's knowledge, right? Whether the fire officer had anything to do with it, we don't know. All we know is that there's a fire officer. That's what we've been told. And I don't think that's not been put out by the Supreme Court. There's a separate story which says that a fire officer who doused the fire said that no money was seized while he was dousing the fire. That's all.
Mr. Jethmalani, is there any other option between the transfer and impeachment? Any other available remedy for the judiciary to send a message of impartiality and accountability?
Well, look, the most noble cause for a judge, if there's cash seized from his house, which is unaccounted for and appears to be illegal, illegally in his possession, right, is resignation. It would save everything else, right? Then whether the court wants to or anybody wants to, but there are a lot of issues arising out of this. How was this money seized? How much money was seized, right? Was it accumulation in more than one case, or was it just a one case situation? If it was related to a particular list for giving, these are all speculative questions, and it doesn't behove me to speculate to that extent about a judge who was otherwise considered to be a very fine judge. But the question that will emerge because obviously something has happened. Some drastic action was taken by the Supreme Court, notwithstanding the subsequent clarification. Right now, we are told